harvest come. Like these were those type of people, and you just see those were the Sybils. Like they had little. You just start to cross reference, like you said, what our history is right in our face, and they took our stories and turned them into these myths, or these fables. These they just mythicize all of these things, but this is true reality. Like this is our history.
Exactly. And so she talked about in 3100 BC how the Pharaoh, there's like a famous story in Egyptian history about the Pharaoh joining the upper northern kingdom, so northern and southern kingdoms. But she was like, why did it need to be joined? And she was basically saying like the southern kingdom was where the Sybils were, you know what I mean? And she said even in that time when that was happening, the matriarch anointed the divine kings and legitimized him through her blood. So I'm like, okay, so basically women were stamped out and erased out of everything, all the word. She talks about the Bible, how everything you guys we're reading is a perversion. You know what I'm saying? Basically. And it's stolen from the women sacerdotal work practices. Like she said they stole. The Vatican was theirs. That was one of their temples.
Yep, Mecca. They built Mecca.
They built Mecca. Sure did.
Yeah, basically there were 7 major branches of spiritual teachings, and these groups, the Romans, the Greeks in particular, they've mentioned the Greeks, the Assyrians, Persians, the Turks.
Especially the Turks.
Yes, Rome. Yeah, those were the ones that came and took those different branches and perverted the stories, demonized them in certain ways and elements, and to bring that slave mentality. It starts with this spiritual stuff. Islam is another branch that was created. That was one of the major branches of the spiritual teachings, and they took it and turned it into what Islam is today. And she even mentioned, where did she say that because they took say how there's going to be no peace.
Yeah, so what she said was because they took the woman from the true teachings. It says until she is restored, there will be no peace. Until she is restored, there will be no peace. So she said that's what it is.
Yeah, and that's present even today. If you look at every religion, there's a bunch of religious wars going internally and externally. There's a bunch of turmoil. There's all this stuff going on within, you know what I mean? In the U.S., they ain't got no baby food. Ukraine, the present. Look at the present day. Like right now, there's no peace
girl,
anywhere.
You know what? Real quick for that Ukraine thing. You know why they let all them Ukrainian refugees come to America? Because they all white, girl. They're going to have babies and help with their population. Anyway, sorry about that. But okay, so look. So we learned about a lot, but I was personally connected and attached to understanding about the warriors. So the Amazons are real. They were the stormtroopers and protectors of the mother right. Yes. They defended. They were builders, masons, namers, founders, warriors. They went everywhere and did everything.
Yeah. They were the ones who built Mecca.
They were in charge of civilizing tribes. If they found some people that was just out there, they was in charge of that. They were
in America.
Yeah.
They were the Calis.
Yeah. One of the girls' names was similar to California, Khalifa, something like that. That made the history over there, and that's I mean, the Sybils were around the world, way thousands of years before anything. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, so Amazon.
I'm telling you,
What?
the Gorgons. That's where they try to say the Medusa in the story. Just because it's the gore. It was.
And that's why I asked you, and you was like, no. I was like, maybe it's just the spelling.
It's the spelling. I mean, it's literally the only thing is it's an O instead of an A.
Mm-hmm.
And this ties back into Greek mythology because Medusa was a part of the Gorgons, and they were so afraid of them because they were so fierce and this, that, and the third. They called them monsters, tried to depict them as people they have wings and like just tried to make them not seem like they were human. They had everyone, Medusa had 2 other sisters. They were it was a pack type of thing, and they say Medusa was a black woman. They didn't even.
Her hair was locks.
Her hair was locks, right? And even the way that's just so, and that's another connection.
Yes, they took all the stuff, even voodoo.
Yeah.
They make voodoo sound like it's like witchcraft and this is terrible and bad and all of those things. But the truth is that our ancestors didn't serve the white man's God before the white man came and gave them the white man's God. You understand what I'm saying? Like y'all, they served mother. They had a whole sacred. What you got? I gotta make sure I'm saying that. Sacerdotal. It's like for the Christians, it's the canon. You know what I mean? It's what they teach from. It's the spot that has all the everything and information. Speaking of the canon, about Christian. What stopped me from being Christian, Baptist, Church of God of Christ, because those are all the churches that I've been a part of. What stopped me was understanding that the person, the pastor who was teaching me, who went to study theology, was taught not to teach me certain things. Because in the Bible, in the Christian faith, there's a canon, is what they call it, and it's the 60s. It's which books out of the Bible to teach to your congregation. So not only do the pastors not teach out of the entire Bible, but there's also at least 20 books that are removed from the Bible, which for what she was saying is that they took everything from them, the Bible. Come on now, they came and stole everything and then rewrote it the way they wanted to, removing the woman, or even demonizing her.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
I mean, completely take her out. Like none of the stories even. It's like how was they making babies?
Look, she said the Book of Psalms came from a Sybil temple in Syria. And it was Mama Agascus, yes, whose temple it was as a Sybil,
yes,
and they stole the Book of Psalms. So you know what I'm saying? And she said the so-called Book of Psalms, like, because they have perverted it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, they've changed it and created it the way they wanted it to be for their audience. You know what I'm saying? For their audience.
Yes.
But it's like they were the mothers of all religions, of all of that, like Krishna,
everything.
Like literally they have. So I can't wait to really dive into this. And if you guys are, gonna get the book to do your own research, these
yes,
notes literally are coming from me watching an interview, pausing and listening, and
Yes.
and then cross-referencing. We have several books, like she's got the mythology book about everything. I have Zachariah Stitchin, his whole series. So even in the War of Gods and Men, speaking of Troy, and we're learning about the whole Helen of Troy, the whole Trojan War.
The whole get down, because it's crazy because they do tell you about these stories. They do. They just don't tell you the truth. They tell you half truths. They'll tell you a piece of it and then plug in other stuff. And so then you just take that story and then now taking a piece from that story and plug it in, and it just embraces exactly what happened.
If you really know the backstory to, you know, the war, the Trojan War, you will see Disney in that.
It literally.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So it's like, come on now. So it's really good to, you know, for me and her to have something to study together and learn together, because it keeps us, you know, grounded and feeling normal, because like there's not a lot of people like me who feel these ways, who are unapologetic in everything, in my approach and all the things. And I just understand I understand better from getting confirmation with this book that I'm just a reincarnation of my ancestors, period. And I'm talking about, they had the last, first of all, let me get into this. The last Amazonian tribe was in Benin. Was it Benin?
Yeah.
Was it Benin?
It was Benin.
Okay, so, and that wasn't 18 something recently. Like, I'm saying that's recently because in the 1800s we were slaves. Right. My great grandmother is the youngest child of a free slave family. That wasn't that long ago in my family, and I don't see it as it didn't happen because it wasn't in 10 years ago. Y'all gotta stop with that. So these there's a whole tribe. Like, I'm gonna go down there and see this history because it wasn't that long ago.
It wasn't that long ago, right?
And in Africa, people are not even learning their history. Like, that was even 200 years ago. Here we are, that they started us in 1492, started us there. You know what I'm saying? Like we didn't have none of this before this. But all of this on my own research, reading real book research, you know, come on now. Everybody needs to wake up and see the pattern. Like, there were people that you look like, that feel the way you feel about all the injustices, about all the things, and did something about them.
Yeah, that's the difference.
They said they would rather die than lose their soul, die than to conform to what you call law. Those was the soldiers. Just saying.
Yes. Yeah, it's deep. It's real deep. But this is, if you take anything from this podcast, is to look within. Start to feel and understand those feelings, because you're being sent messages from your spirit and your souls and ancestor and God, Yahweh. This is really a spiritual thing. The corruption started internally. That's where the war begins before it becomes external. So this is why even studying your self-approved, like my mother says, it's your armor. This is something that you can always have, you can lean on, because God, Yahweh, is throughout all of this. Like, okay, I feel it. It's a feeling. This is why you can't discount anybody's expression of God, because that's how they feel. But you need to find your feeling. Find it for real and hold on to that. Another thing my mother says, fear and faith are of the unknown. Both are of the unknown, fear and faith. So why would you hold on to fear when you can have faith? Believe, truly believe, and you will start to uncover those truths once you really start to understand that feeling. Like, no, this don't feel right. That don't feel right.
The feeling language, it's a communication through the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
It's yourself telling yourself to stop.
Yes.
Or slow down or go or whatever. You know, the communication is only 7% verbal. So however well you're able to articulate what you're trying to say, be it you're using, you know, a high level of vocabulary or even, you know, the basics,